Hello there and welcome back to Kleshna's Beading Moments. Today we are going to be beading balls, as they say. It sounds very rude, doesn't it? But it's not at all. We are going to make some of the most beautiful beaded balls, which I discovered because I bought myself these extraordinarily amazing magnetic balls. Now, my lovely Kaylee, who shoots everything for me, tells me I have to hold things up by my face in order for you to see them. So I'm going to very briefly show you these amazing things here. These are super magnetic and they're part of a scientific thing called buckyballs, all right? And it is the sort of thing that you could play with forever and ever. Now, I purchased these at great expense to the management, I might add, in order to help me to design things. And wow, they are extraordinary, but they aren't the easiest design mechanism to have. So without further ado, I'm going to try and take you down to my bead board, and we're going to learn how to make some of the most glamorous objects, the most flexible objects that you can make bracelets from, Christmas decorations from, whatever you want. Anything that is a ball shape, these will help you to achieve. So bye-bye for now and see you on the board in a second. Okay, here we are down on my bead board, and I give you my promise that I'm going to try and be as, how can I put it, as purposeful in my making as I can, so that you can see exactly what I'm doing, because I do tend to get carried away with my enthusiasm, and I know that some of you have said that you can't exactly see what I'm doing properly, so it'll be a bit slower, but I think it will be a little bit clearer for you. Now, here is one of these amazing balls that I have created here. Isn't it beautiful? Can you imagine that hanging on a Christmas tree? So this ball here was made with 12mm crystals. Now, if you're going to use them for Christmas trees, I recommend that you use acrylic beads rather than crystal, which I did, because otherwise your Christmas tree will fall over. But what I think is so fantastic about these balls is you can make them in a multiplicity of sizes. So here's one made with 8mm, another little one made with 8mm. This one's all made with the same colour, and I've embellished the nodes of the ball here. And this one is in multicolours. But then we go down in size. This is made with 6mm beads, which I'm going to show you. Take that out my magic circle. And these here, little fellows, are made with 4mm bicones and 3mm bicones on the nodes. And I think you will agree they are really so sparkly and so pretty. And then down, right the way down to me making them with tiny little 3mm bicones. Now, I made a friend of mine the most exquisite bracelet, and every ball was a bead in the bracelet, and it is superb. So you can see why I'm saying that these are incredibly flexible little things to be able to make. And let me just show you one thing before we continue. You know, this is something I made with my magnetic beads that I said have helped me to design. And just to show you how incredibly magnetic these are, look. So it's kind of a bit of a case of don't try this at home, but if you can lay your hands on any of these, you might find them really very good to keep you occupied whilst you're watching telly in the evenings. Anyway, let's take this away now. And I'm going to find my spectacles, which are at the side here, and tell you that this, to make one ball, will take you 30 beads. Now, I have made various different stages of balls, which I will bring into the offing over here. And I'm just going to line them up at the side here so that I don't get you completely bored witless whilst I am doing this. So let me just line these up over here. And let me get my beads ready and waiting. Now, I have used in my demonstration to you 6mm beads because I think it will be easier. I've used Beaded's Wildfire thread because I think it's a magnificent product, especially when you're working in crystal, because it appears to be more robust than the other alternatives, but I have no doubt you'll all have your favourites, so you know, it makes your life easier. Now, I always flatten the end of it. I'm using a size 12 needle, although I'm being a lazy baggage because actually I probably prefer to be using a size 10 needle, but I can't be bothered to go and get one. But it'll do the job just as well. Now, you start this project by using just 5 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And quite simply, you just slip them on, and in the age-old fashion of everything that starts in beading that creates a 3D object, you make a circle. So there we go. I'm going to go back through these beads. I shall try and do it without putting my mitts in the way. Hold on. I'm going back through these 5 beads here. Forgive the hands, but as I spend my life as a jeweller making jewellery, they are rather shredded by now, sadly. Now, one of the things that it is quite useful to do is if you go over the top here, pull that part through the middle, like that. Hopefully Kaylee's going to be able to zoom in to show you what I've done. And then you pull it together gently. Whilst I'm not creating a knot, because I don't like using knots very often, because I find that they then clog up the hole that you're going through. What I'm going to do is what I believe is called a half hitch, but as an old fart that I am, I call it blanket stitch. There we go. Right, and that way we don't have a big knot to go through. I'm going to keep this end because it helps me to hold on to things and stabilise things. Now, for the purpose of showing you this, I am going to bring out some orange beads. Let's spill these out into my little magic circle here. Oh, there's one which I don't need as it is. And I'm going to move this out from the orange beads. Right, we now need to pick up, for our first circle, we are going to go through this bead here. Okay. Can you see that? And we're going to pick up 4 beads, 2, 3, 4 beads, and we're going to go back on ourselves. So we're going into here. Now, whenever I work with crystals, you know, one of the keys to doing any of this stuff is reinforcing everything that you are doing constantly. So I would like to suggest that when you are creating things, especially in crystal, which can cut through any thread like butter, that you often will go through it more than once. So it's called reinforcing it. Right, so I've come through this and I've made my little 4 here. Hold on, let's just get rid of that. Okay, so you can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads and 4 beads here. Then I'm going through the next bead along here, and I've already got 1 bead for my next circle, so I only need to pick up 3 beads here. There we go, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to go over and back again. It's like a sort of a back stitch that you would have in sewing. There we go, and I'm going through here again, reinforce again, and then I'm going to move on to one that I made earlier, as they say. Here's one that I made earlier. Sorry for those of you who don't like the cooking analogy, I won't carry on with it, but it is such a truism that you do when you're making these videos for YouTube. You have to make up lots of samples. So there we go, I've done 2 here. Right, I'm going to put that to one side, and I'm going to bring back to show you one that I made earlier. Here we go. Right, so I've done on this one, look, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm now on my last circle. Now, the last circle differs slightly from the rest of the circles here in that I go through this bead here and I go right the way through that bead there, because remember we're going to create a ball shape. So I want to start drawing this in. So there we go, I'm going through that side one here, and because we've got this one and this one, we've got our two side beads. So I'm only going to need to, in this row, pick up 2 extra beads. I'm going through the other side bead and I'm going back through the bead in the bottom here. So can you see it's starting already to become slightly concave. I'm then going to go up through here again. Do you know, I think one of the problems is that I'm cat-handed. I am a left-hander. Like a lot of creative people, I'm sort of, is it left-brained? Left-brained, right-brained, whatever, anyway. Thank God I've got a brain somewhere. Anyway, I'm brained, left or right. Okay, so I'm pulling this around like this, and I'm going to suggest that if you are actually making it for your own purposes, that you go round all of these beads again and start again. Right, now I'm going to go up through the side of this one, through the next bead here. Now let me just show you this. Can you see that there's one bead in the middle and a bead either side? So we've had those loops there. What we want to do is to join these and bring this in more again into a ball shape. So I'm going through into the next bead of the next couple of beads. So you've got like a little triumvirate there. And for my next circle, I am going to use a different colour bead purely so it makes it easier for you guys to see it. So I'm going to put these orange beads away and I'm going to bring out some light Colorado topaz beads here. And for my next row, so I used 4 beads in the first one there, I am only going to use 3 beads. So let's move these aside. Move along now. It's like when you go into the tubes. If you're in America, you'd call it the subway. And hello to all of my lovely American friends out there. You are such wonderful beaders, and I do adore getting your emails and texts and things. Right, now, can you see I have gone across those 2 beads? So I'm crossing over from the first loop into the second loop. And I've made my 3rd loop now. Can you see it's just drawing that in a little bit more? And so then I am going to go across another 2 beads. And because you've got it now, I bet you, I've got 1 bead in place there. Hold on, I'm going to bring this nearer to you. Can you see that? I'm therefore I've got 1 bead in place there, so I'm going to go through that bead there, if I can get my needle in there, because there's already that loop in place. And I'm going to put in my 2nd loop there. Okay, and I'm going to reinforce it as I have said. So there we go. All the way around and reinforce it. Now, can you see what's happening as it's getting caught on the top of my finger there, that it is actually starting to curve over? And then I go through the next 2 and so on and so forth. Right, now we're going to take this one away now, and I'm going to show you another one which I have made prior to doing this video. Right, I've now put in on this one, I've put in the first one, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and I'm right up to my 5th one. You can see what I mean. It sits kind of like a little sort of a dolly, a little hat on my finger now, and this is how it should be. I have my last 2 beads that I'm going through from the previous row here on this one, and remember I said we have the first, so we're picking up the first bead from the first circle we made. Now because we've only got 3 in this one, all we need to do is to pick up 1 bead, because we've got our first bead and our last bead already in place. My magic circle is now going in on me slightly somehow. There we go, let's just untwiddle that. Now when we put this bead in and we go across the 2 at the bottom here, and my little sort of buckyball stroke DNA type bead is almost finished now, and I'm going around this again, and you will see that we have the semblance of a ball shape here, and this is actually kind of where the fun starts in many ways, because we then have to tighten up all of the different nodes. Right, so we've actually in essence got our little ball shape here. Now one of the things that I love doing is I like decorating the nodes. I'm just going to pop that over there and ask my lovely filming lady, has that been clear? Good, okay. So as you can see, these are all a little bit wibbly wobbly up here, so because they've been formed from all the circles, concentric circles I've done. So what I recommend you do is that you go around the whole of this top ring in order to make that into another circle of its own, and in order to stabilise your bead shape. Now the smaller the bead that you make this with, the neater it becomes, because the holes in between it are less wibbly. So can you see it's not quite so squishy now? But one of the things I like to do is to go around each face of the bead, and here is your basic bead. Now something that you may wish to do, actually, as I spill out a few of these rather beautiful double coated Swarovskis here, is to embellish your bead, because as you'll see you've got lots of little nodes here. I don't know if we can see that on the camera. We can, okay. So pick up, I've chosen some 3mm double Dorado beads here, and do you know, anything you want you can get on our website. I'm not a commercial bead company. They'll probably be below certain prices because we buy wholesale for the purpose of making jewellery, so it could be useful to you. I also do have a bead pattern, and I'm trying to raise money for Alzheimer's Research Society, because my dear old mum, who sadly is not with us anymore, had Alzheimer's, and I think some of the older people's charities suffer a little bit more than the more glamorous things in that life. So if you would like one of these, I'm going to charge something like, say, £3, which is not a lot, but lots of £3 add up, and hopefully we'll get a nice chunky sum to give to Alzheimer's. So I hope you don't mind, because you can get it free, but I often find myself that it's very nice to have a bit of paper to note down your things on. Right, as you can see, I've threaded down to the bottom here one of these little beads, and I quite simply will go through and pull that bead into that node. There we go. Pick up another bead, pull it into the next node. Pick up another bead. It just gives a little bit of added sparkle and another dimension to what is already a really rather beautiful object. Pick up another bead. There we go. And it happens very, very quickly. Right, so I've just done that face where I've embellished it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to then turn this bead, I'm going to go through this bead again. This also does help to tighten up your bead a bit more too. So now I'm going through here, and I'm going to pick up beads for the nodes on this bead that are not already covered. And it's a very quick process, and you'll find that you have sort of more of a three-dimensional object when you embellish the nodes on the bead. So there we go. I'm just about to go through. Ooh, this is being very badly behaved. There we go. And so on and so forth, really, and that's all that you have to do. Let me just show you now again some of the other beads that I've made earlier, because I think now that you know how to do it yourself, look how pretty that one is now. Here's a little tiny baby one. I love this colour. This is Emerald double AB here. This one is just one made out of little 4mm pearls. And then this one is like the biggest bead of all. This is the big daddy of them all, which I've made for a Christmas decoration. But again, they all look quite terrific.